Hi everybody, welcome to another edition of HCS Matters. I'm John Wright, Director of Public Relations for Hardin County Schools. Hanging out today with Tim Thomas, who with the Hardin County Sheriff's Office, and with Kim Atkins, who is our Director of Student Services for Hardin County Schools. And Tim is, I don't know if you will go by the title of lead SRO for the district, or pretty close to that, or at least for the Sheriff's Office.
Well, I'm lieutenant with Hardin County Sheriff's Office, and I am in charge of the division of SROs.
For the
Sheriff's Office.
So we're featuring school resource officers over the next 30 minutes or so, and the Sheriff's Office has the most school resource officers throughout our district, and so Deputy Thomas, just talk about or Lieutenant Thomas, excuse me, just talk about what an SRO does and why they're such a integral part of what takes place in a school building.
Well, we're very fortunate to live and work in a community that really puts an emphasis on school safety. And with the Hardin County Sheriff's Office and our partnership with Hardin County Schools, we have now hired 16 school resource officers. A school resource officer is a sworn law enforcement officer who has specialized training. And this came about with the new 158-441 that was put into effect that required schools to put law enforcement officers inside the schools. It's a law, but it's a good law because we're now able to be in the school system working with all personnel and the school children, and our number one duty is to protect and make sure these children and staff are safe. But also it's to interact with these kids and let them know we're just like their fathers, mothers, grandfathers. We're regular people, and
Right.
we're here for them.
Right, and that's going to be my next question. You guys do so much more than policing. It in fact, it's more relationship building, encouragement, because they see you guys as mentors, as heroes even.
Well, yes, and they do. And I noticed when I first started being in a school system every day, when you first walk in, they look at you and what are you doing here? Well, after you develop that relationship, they ask, why aren't you here today? Or where is Officer Thomas at today? Or Officer Gillingham, or all our other SROs. They care about us, and that's that relationship we build every day. We're not just a police officer they see in bad situations. We're someone they see as just a regular person that's here for them, and that's what makes this job enjoyable.
Right, Kim, you kind of organize school resource officers throughout the district, and you more than anybody know what a important piece these guys are to the success of students, not just of school buildings, but of students. Talk about that.
Well, we work with 3 different departments. We work with Sheriff's Office, we work with Radcliffe Police Department, and Elizabethtown Police Department. But all of these 3 departments work with me every day, and they work together every day. So we have a large district. They all work together to make sure kids arrive to a friendly face, a safe face, somebody that can help them through daily struggles, or just give advice, or just be there as a safety net. They work traffic sometimes, helping our buses and parents get in and out. They even help kids at the high schools a lot, teenage drivers learning to drive. They give advice on that. Have some fender benders in the parking lot. They can take care of that. They help with our handle with care notifications. When that comes through that a student has been involved in something traumatic that day or the night before, we get a notification that this student needs some extra supports. So they've been a great part to integrate into our schools, and we look forward to hiring more, having all of our schools completely covered. They work with the teachers with curriculum. They work with principals every day. They work with teachers every day. They work with food services. So they're like part of our staff.
Right. It's much more than a badge.
Yeah.
Yeah, much more than a badge.
They're part, and they embrace their school spirit. They wear their school's T-shirts. They go to their school's ball games. They cheer on their kids.
Wear cowboy hats.
Yes,
like
they wear
SRO
cowboy
and-
hats on Cowboy Day. Some of them play Baby Shark and do some dances for us out at the preschool center. So it's a great fit.
But we have, and Lieutenant Thomas is too humble to answer this question, I think. But we have I think we just have the best with the sheriff's office, Elizabethtown Police Department, and Radcliffe Police Department.
Yes.
All those guys, Chief Thompson, Chief Cross, Sheriff Ward, all
Yes.
those guys, they're so helpful.
They are
so
very helpful. There's not been any question that I have had for any of those departments that they haven't been able to answer or to come up with a solution. And yes, they are too humble, but I'm going to brag a little bit. So the Kentucky Center for School Safety gives an award every year for the best SRO program. So in 2023, Hardin County Schools was named a promising program by Kentucky Center for School Safety, and one of our own, Sergeant Gillingham, was named SRO of the year for the regional award. So they do a great job, not only just in the schools, but a lot of them, they work after hours with our kids. I can call them at night and say, one of your students is having an issue. They'll go and assist with that. They help during the holidays with fundraising. They help us deliver gifts or just on a daily basis, things that kids might need. Lieutenant Thomas was just sharing with me that he has a student he's working with who's in need of some clothing items for school. So he's working to find community resources to help that student.
Right.
So it's much more than just being here for safety and security.
Right. Lieutenant Thomas, you guys are more, like we said, you're more than a badge. You really are a staff member. I mean, the principals embrace you, the students embrace you, community members, parents embrace you. Just talk about the
There you go.
the love, I guess, you feel from so many people that you engage with every day.
It is a love.
Yeah.
When you work with these wonderful people every day, they become your family. And when you have to leave and go to another assignment, it's a sad day. And these children become your children. And I've been doing this for several years now. I've watched them start in the 6th grade, and now I'm watching them graduate. And it is a special feeling to know that you've been there through this important times in their life. And we are very fortunate here in Hardin County and the state of Kentucky that they take school safety so serious. We go to the National School Resource Officers and School Safety Conference every year, and to see what's going on in other states and know what we have here. Our specialized training. In the state of Kentucky, you have to go 40 hours every year of specialized school resource officer training. And that's for 3 years. And then we go to the conference, which is another 40 or so hours. And then we have other specialized trainings throughout the year. So we're constantly trying to improve the way we do things to make sure these babies are safe.
Right. It's not just police officer training, it's SRO training.
SRO training, that's right. And that's not required in other states.
Right.
We're ahead of the ball game in school safety in the state of Kentucky and especially here in Hardin County and Elizabethtown. One story I can share, when I was at James T. Alton as a SRO, a military soldier came up to me and I said, I want to thank you for your service. He's getting ready, his child had told me that their dad was getting ready to go overseas. And I was thanking him and he looked at me and he said, thank you. And I said, thank for what? He said, I'm going overseas and you're here taking care of my babies. And that really hit on. It lets you know how important our job is, and these are our babies, and we care about them.
Absolutely. Now, we have have what's called a DARE program that encourages or teaches students the dangers of drugs. But the Hardin County Sheriff's Office also has a wonderful program. Talk about that.
Well, we've implemented a program, and all of our officers and we've just hired a few more that are starting, and they will also be certified in Digital Futures Initiative. Okay. It's a program that's recognized through the National School Resource Officers Association. It's and most everyone is familiar with DARE. This is a modern day DARE that reaches from kindergarten all the way to seniors in high school. It's got a lot of different programs on drugs and alcohol and programs that you'll see in DARE, but you'll also see there's vaping. Vaping is a problem that we're having all across the United States. Yes. with young kids. A serious problem that we take serious. Mm-hmm. When we want to educate these children now, because the cigarette industry losing profits on cigarettes, right. Well, they turn it to vapes and they're targeting our youth. Sure. So we want to tell them the dangers on that. We're going to do a distractive driving course for our 15, 16-year-olds because the cell phones, yes. We all know as a parent that cell phones are a problem with our youth, and we don't want our young drivers to be distracted on the phone and possibly get hurt while they're driving. So we're going to implement those. But all of our SROs are going to be implementing these in their school system.
And there's also a social media piece, too.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Social media, another big problem that we didn't have back when I was in school. And so the teachers today and the youth and the parents, social media is a big problem. It's easy to bully people online. Absolutely. And we're seeing a lot of that. So we educate on social media, and we educate the parents. It's not just for the children. Right. It's educating the parents on what they can do and what they can look out for in their children. It's a great program, and you're going to be seeing more and more of that throughout.
And Sheriff Ward was completely on board with this.
Sheriff
you didn't
Ward,
have to twist his arm.
No, Sheriff Ward is our biggest supporter.
Yeah, absolutely.
His main focus with our division in the sheriff's office is to make sure the children of Hardin County are safe and educated, and to keep them safe not only at school but at home.
Right. So we're going to talk. After we leave these fine folks, we're going to talk with a school resource officer at Central Hardin High School, Officer Larry Robinson, who's from the Elizabethtown Police Department, and then we're also going to talk with Officer Mike Holman, who is a Radcliffe police officer, and he is one of the school resource officers at John Hardin High School, who also do a magnificent job in making sure our kids are safe and forming bonds with students. We're hanging out now with Central Hardin High School School Resource Officer Larry Robinson. And Larry, you've been an SRO at Central for a good while.
Yes, since 2016.
2016, and it doesn't seem that long ago, but 2016 is a long time. So, kind of give us we talked a little bit about this with Deputy Thomas, but talk a little bit about a day in the life of an SRO at Central Hardin High School, the district's biggest school.
Biggest school. Well, I start off when I first get to the school, look around, check around before the kids get here, and then I'm out with the buses, with the assistant principals, just standing in the sidewalk, watching the kids as they come in, seeing them, saying good morning and all that stuff, just saying hi. And then after they all get in, that's when I come into the building, and it's different every time, from walking the halls, checking the classrooms, the doors, to maybe talking to somebody right off the bat, or even parents and stuff that comes into my office to talk to me.
Yeah, so you are school resource officers, especially you, are more than just security guards.
Yes.
You are sometimes fathers, sometimes big brothers, sometimes uncles. I mean, you really nurture and develop a lot of relationships, don't you?
Yes. My biggest thing is just counseling and being there for them and stuff, getting to know them. It's to see all the kids, especially been doing it so long, seeing them grown up and gone and coming back to me and saying hi.
Mm-hmm. You are truly a member of the staff, and I think Mr. Isaacs would say that, just go into a little bit about that, Larry, of some of the things that, without going into specifics, some of the things that you can talk about, that you talk to kids about.
So my favorite thing, when I first got hired, of course, there's 4 assistant principals, and at the time they was all female except one. So they used me a lot just to go one-on-one talking, not police related, but just one-on-one talking with kids, especially the young men that needed somebody to talk to. And then over the years, I've just grown with that, being part of the staff, being with all the teachers. A lot of teachers and staff come to me also just to talk and to ask me tons of questions. They think I'm a lawyer, but I'm a police officer, not a lawyer. But I get a lot of questions, like just everyday questions, not just about what they have problems with.
The E-Town Police Department, which you're a member of, the E-Town Police Department invests heavily in our school resource officer program. Just talk about how serious your department, your agency, takes the school resource officer program.
So it has grown from me being the only one to having 2, and now we have 9 SROs. Now we're having a sergeant in charge of all of it too. So we're growing and all that. And of course, we cover the Hardin County schools and the E-Town independent schools. And now, which is really cool, we have the private sector with St. James School having a school resource officer.
Right. So, like we said earlier, a lot goes into being a school resource officer. Believe it or not, you guys, there's special training just for school resource officers. Talk about that.
Yes. So for a police officer in the state of Kentucky, you have to have 40 hours of training each year. And with Kentucky, we're one of the few that we have 3 different levels, like SRO 1, 2, and 3, which is 40 hours each. So that's 120 hours we get. You go some state, they got 4 hours of online training that they do just to be an SRO. So Kentucky has really stepped it up, and it shows how important it is for the schools. And they see that with our different trainings. And you think it's not just going to the range and shooting. It's a lot of special need training or special education or just how to be with kids.
So do you, I believe this, I know you do too, but I want you to talk about it. When you make those relationships with kids, I firmly believe it makes them less apt to do anything crazy, to do anything silly that would cause a danger to the school and its students.
Yes. So the bond that you have, and they say the bad kids, you say that, but the bond that you have with them where they're actually coming to you, that's the best part. And I mean, for instance, I had one time, he was a good kid, we'll say that, but something was going on at the school and he was really concerned about me. He reached out and called contact me and said, "Hey, Officer Robinson, just for your safety, don't go to school tomorrow," because he was worried about me. And this is one that, nobody really cared about, that he's in trouble all the time. So it was really meant a lot when he did that. And so the bond that you have with them.
Right. Absolutely. Now, you are a DARE officer. Talk about what being a DARE officer is like.
I was a DARE officer before I was an SRO, so that's a chance for me to get into elementary schools and to teach. And they say what DARE used to be a long time ago, when in the 70s, it was, just an old crusty cop going in talking about drugs and stuff. And that was scary and didn't really work.
Right.
So the topics that we get to discuss is basic topics, from stress to making good choices to being bullied and just little stuff like that. And it gets the officer in the school. And I've been doing this long enough where I have DARE kids that are graduating, or they graduated and they're married and all that stuff. So I've been doing this for a while. But that part of the kids, seeing them in the schools at a very young age, I have incidents where they were terrified of police officers, and by now they're hugging me, they're coming up. I had one graduated last year that wouldn't talk to me first during DARE, and now her mom and her wanted to take pictures with me at graduation.
Awesome.
So that was pretty cool to see that.
Right. That's awesome. Just shows, again, you're a treasured member of,
Yes.
of the staff here. So, if somebody were to say to you, well, you're the only SRO for 1,800 students at the school, at the district's largest high school, but if something were to happen, you would have backup pretty dang fast.
Yes. Being in E-Town, with Kentucky State Police, Sheriff's Department, everybody from E-Town Police Department, Radcliffe, everybody would be here. like that. So, and you'd be surprised how many police officer kids go here, and the community and everybody cares. Even if they don't have kids here, they'll show up and care to help out.
Right. The you touched on a little bit with staff. I mean, I think they see you totally really as a peer to them, and you talked about that, how they kind of come to you with their problems as well.
Yes.
Yeah. So just talk a little bit about that.
So it's a big family. That's the big thing. It's a big family, and they know who I am, and I know who they're, and it's comfortable that they want to come talk to me about that, and they just see me as an authority figure that can help them out, and just listen to them mostly. And that's basically everything I do, is just listen. Instead of, that's hardest part about not being the police part, is, telling people what to do, but to listen to them.
And you are not, and I've heard Mrs. Adkins, who is kind of coordinates our school resource officer program, I've heard Ms. Adkins say, you guys are not disciplinarians, you're police officers. There's a difference.
Yes. We don't handle, like, if they wear a hat or the holes in their jeans and something like that. We don't do stuff like that. And it's really great having staff that knows that. At first, they call me for little stuff, and they realize, that's not his job. And so, I'm in the hallways, I'm in the bathrooms, making sure nobody's doing anything illegal or like that. But the school handles their discipline, that part. And I don't get involved, because if I do, and it can turn into a police action, we don't want that to happen.
Right.
My job's not to arrest every kid here. I don't want to do that at all.
Right. So I would think some people probably see you as, I bet he's busy over there. I bet he's, I bet he's arresting people left and right. But again, you're a counselor, you're a relationship builder, and so it's not as bad. The perception is probably far worse than what actually happened. I know it is.
Yeah, I'm not dealing with 20,000, because if you look at the numbers and look at E-Town, how many officers work cases during the day, and you would think I'll have tons of cases, but it's different kind of work. It keeps you busy and stuff like that.
Right. Well, Larry Robinson is one of a tremendous group, a member of a tremendous group, our school resource officers. Next, we're going to talk with Mike Holman. He is the one of a couple of school resource officers at John Hardin High School, and he's a member of the Radcliffe Police Department, one of 3 agencies that helps us with our school resource officers. We'll talk to Mike here in a second. We're at John Hardin High School with Lieutenant Mike Holman, who from the Radcliffe Police Department, who was one of 5 SROs here at John Hardin High School.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So you guys rotate a little bit, but we've been talking, and our viewers know that we've talked with Officer Robinson at Elizabethtown Police and Lieutenant Thomas from the Hardin County Sheriff's Office, school resource officers. And they say this, and I know you'll say this, they are a true staff member. They are a true gem inside this building.
I concur with that. And it's always good to come here.
Right.
So,
why are school resource officers so important to the success of a school building?
well, I think number one, we are the first line of defense if anything terrible might happen. We're here, to make sure that the kids can come to school and learn in an environment that's conducive to healthy learning.
And the other two guys, and I know you'll agree with this, in the relationships that you build, the positive relationships that you build are essential.
Yes, they are. We couldn't just go into a school and robot it. That's bad terminology, but you have to get to know the kids, and you know them on a first name basis. They come to you with their problems, and I kind of look at us like an interventionist sometimes, where we're stepping up to help them when they might need a little help.
And when those students see you out in, out in town or out in the community, whether it be at Radcliffe Days coming up this weekend or a football game or wherever, when they see you out in town, they, that fear of the police or maybe any misconceptions they have about the police department
are probably gone because they know who you are.
It definitely helps with that relationship outside of the building.
Right.
And you know, the upside of that is that they can share that with other people who don't go to school. Because there is a misconception with law enforcement and interactions with the public, and it really helps.
Right. So when I know you're one person that's here, you know, one officer that's here during the day. But if something were to happen, and if this facility, you know, 4 or 5 years ago, unfortunately we had an incident, but and that showed me, and I already knew it, but that showed me, Lieutenant Holman, that you can get help quick. I mean, it seemed like there were officers that came out of the ground that day.
I think the first officer arrived within 35 seconds that day.
Yeah,
So.
yeah. In addition to the school resource
In addition
officer.
to the officer that was here.
Yeah,
As school resource officer.
Right.
That day.
So just talk about the urgency if a school resource officer sends out for help, the urgency. Just talk about how that's going to be an urgent call to your colleagues on the street.
And it's automatic. Everybody's that's working, that's listening to the radio, and E-Town and Radcliffe and the Hardin County Sheriff's Office always works really well together. Sometimes they're closer than our police officers are, but most of the officers scan on the radio and they would hear that, and it's just an automatic response. That's that quick.
When they have events at a school resource officer is just kind of like a whether it be a math teacher, a custodian, a child nutrition worker. You guys are just part of the family, right?
We are, and here at John Hardin, I'm sure it's like this at the rest of the schools. The staff and the administrative staff, especially, makes us feel at home. This is my 15th year at John Hardin, and I wouldn't trade those years for anything.
What do you think when a student leaves here and they've not necessarily been around just Mike Coleman, because I know you're not going to brag on yourself, but when a student has that relationship with school resource officers and they go whether it be to college, whether that be to the workforce, whether that be to a military obligation, they're just going to have probably a stronger view or a stronger respect for police officers, don't you think?
I believe so. As a matter of fact, it was probably about 2 or 3 months ago, I ran into a former student from John Hardin at Walmart in E-Town. And he recognized me. I recognized him, but couldn't remember his name. I'm getting old.
Right.
So, and he told me who he was, and I remember that he was here, and he actually graduated in 2012.
Right.
So, and he had gotten out of the military and was working for a local company, doing really well. So.
That's wonderful. So,
and I tried to recruit him.
Right. Were you successful?
No.
No. Okay. You guys also you guys help out with extracurricular activities, whether that be events and things like that, and so it's not like they've pulled you off the street and you're here exclusively. You've got I know this weekend you have a pretty busy weekend planned. So
we do.
This is just kind of part of what you do.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
This is we actually the SROs here at John Hardin actually work here on our days off.
Okay.
So. Makes for a long week sometimes, but like this will be a long week because of tomorrow. So that's.
But it's worth it.
It is.
Just talk about that.
Well, it's like I said earlier. I wouldn't trade this experience for anything. I get an opportunity to not be on the street and have positive interaction with the kids, and the kids are our future, and that to me is important. You build when you build a trust with these kids over a period of 4 years, it doesn't go away. It doesn't go away.
As a respected officer in this community, which you are, there also, I think there's a lot of people that say, well, kids today, blank, blank, blank. You don't.
I think
do your best to dispel that misconception.
I think kids today they're really misunderstood.
Yeah.
There's a lot of negative influence in their life because of social media. So it's a little bit more difficult to reach some of the kids because they're just not reachable at some point in time. But in my opinion, overall, the kids aren't a bad part of society.
Right.
I think, like I said, social media has a lot of negative influences, and
right.
we have to do our best as professionals to dispel that.
Right.
So.
All right. So the other guys have talked about the advanced training that school resource officers received and how Kentucky really puts an emphasis on that and is well ahead of the game.
I think Kentucky's probably number 1 in the nation as far as school resource officers go. And I could be wrong because there's a 3-part SRO program that they have to SRO has to go through 1, 2, and 3. It's pretty in depth. It's very in depth into the fact where in SRO 3 you're doing technical skills.
Okay.
So.
Okay. Well, Mike Holman is a respected officer in this community. He's one of the school resource officers at John Hardin High School, and so we've had the opportunity to talk with 3 just wonderful, not only police officers, but school resource officers who mean so much to the success of our students here in Hardin County Schools. We appreciate your time and hanging out with us. Appreciate you watching.